How's everybody doing? We are four guys and some APIs, and we took some APIs and made something called Muskick, and it's a music search that's kicking up your local music. It is right here. Can somebody name a band, an artist? Anybody playing? Fish? Did I hear Fish? Wow, look at that. Who would have known? So we got Fish here. We got an autofill there. It's got Fish. Let's go right to Fish. Look at that. You get Fish. You have the divs here with all the results. Rob worked very hard to do numerous pages. This is not a jQuery plugin or anything. He did these pages manually. These are pages. You have the results to buy tickets. Take you to Manzantown. Just a second. Go back here. To Fish again. You get that, and then you can have related shows as well. It gives you artists related. You can search for them and see any related shows to them. So you have Widespread Panic is related to Fish. They're playing some shows in the area. You can search new artists. Then you have shows related to this artist, and that's where it comes in, where maybe you want to go see a band and there's a band that's similar to them playing something in the area. Go check out them too. Now I'm going to pass it off to James for a little bit behind our concept and motivation.
Hey, I'm James. I'm going to be talking about the concept and motivation for our project. So the concept is being able to easily find your favorite artist playing around your area, and when you search for your favorite artists, you can also see that over here all the related artists, so you can always expand on your musical tastes, and it will also show you the venues for the related artists, and the venues for the artists that you search for will be down here. And we also added a feature that shows you the top tracks for the artist that you searched, and when you click play, it's just going to show you like a 30-second sample of the song. Okay, so for the motivation, our motivation was that we found it like a little bit challenging for to always find new music to listen to, so we put together a website that not only finds related artists that you search for, but also shows you when and where they'll be playing. We also wanted our users to have like a fun social experience when they visit our webpage, so we added a chat box which can be found down here. And over here they can just talk about their favorite artists and meet up to watch their favorite artists together if they like. And finally, we also added a theme button. So this is something we put together to make our webpage more visually appealing to the user's liking. So right now the default is like a rock and roll theme, and so if you wanted to just switch the theme, we would have it show up as more of like an EDM theme. And I'm gonna, Kevin, if you want to talk about the design.
So our design process, we started the first night of class. First thing we did was draw up a little mock of what the site would look. Yes, very crude. This isn't balsamic. This is analog. If you can see, you see back and forth. It kind of came out. We have our search here. Originally, the search was up here in the left. We had a header with the title, but a Jumbotron. It just didn't look good though. The Spotify div is there. Our results come up there, and our chat is down there. So we went with our original design for the most part, and that helped a lot to have the design laid out and then know what we were going for and where stuff would be on the page. And then Eugene did this awesome little balsamic mock-up of what he would have his poll come up as. And once again, the feedback, he actually added something, but he'll talk about that a little bit later. The feedback actually came up exactly like he did his original poll sketch, and it's the thumbs up, thumbs down, and the peace symbol, and it came out very well. So we did follow our original designs for the most part, changed a few things. And GitHub played a large part in it as well. We merged, Eugene had his own fork, we were communicating and making sure everybody was on the same page. There were a few conflicts that we ran into, and we had to do some things manually, but for the most part, Git for us was an enjoyable experience for this. And I would say for the first time in something yet, working in a group, it actually worked out for us at least. But that was our design process, and it came together very well in my opinion. So now Eugene's going to talk a little bit about his code and his part.
Okay, so I'm going to cover the technologies that made this application possible. We used Moment.js for the date timestamps. We used Firebase as a backend for the messages, for the usernames. Also, we used Firebase for the number of users that are online, and we also used Firebase to store the tally in the poll, which disappeared. But yeah, so it's used for storing that. We also used OpenAuthentication.io for Twitter authentication. You can log in with Twitter, and it will show up that you're a Twitter user. And we also use jQuery UI. Oh, yeah. You can see here, it shows up as Twitter, yeah, if you log in. And we used OpenAuthentication.io for Twitter, and we used jQuery UI for the modal dialog boxes. For the actual code, it was a little bit more complicated. For the chat box, it's pushed into So for the chat box, it uses Firebase as a backend, and the objects for the messages are pushed into Firebase, and they have a chat timestamp, a message, and whether or not they're authenticated and with which service. We used jQuery for the enter button, so when you click enter, it submits the chat. We also used Firebase to filter for the last 50 messages for the last 3 days. And we use Moment to convert it into a format that Firebase will accept. We used Open Authentication for the Twitter pop-up. Like when you click to log into Twitter, it'll pop up, and then it'll take your username, your password, and it'll pass it back into our application so that we'll know that you're authenticated. For the voting, we use chart.js, and it allows us to make the graph in our application without having to use a third-party API like Google Graphs or something. So you can see it, you don't have to rely on a third-party service. And we also set up an A/B test for the feedback. So when you refresh the page, half the time you'll get this feedback version, and the other half the time you'll get a pull box. That way you can see which one will give you more responses. And that's
we see what people think. Give it a vote there.
So most people like our site, Chart.js.
Oh, you handed it off? All
Yeah,
right. All right, how's it going? I'm Rob. Could you just pull up my JavaScript? So I worked on dealing with the APIs to populate the boxes, such as like the related artists, the tour dates, the top tracks, and dealing with the APIs to get that information. So the two main APIs I used were Spotify and Bands in Town. So actually I have a graph that I'm going to pull up to better explain how I sent it all. So you first start off at the artist. Here, I'll use my pointer. The artist input, you'll start typing something. It'll send a call every key to the Spotify artist search API, which then sends the top 5 results back to you, which makes the drop-down menu, the type ahead, autocomplete. So then you could either take something that they use or submit your own artist, and when you do that, it makes 4 calls, 2 to Spotify, 1 to get the related artist, gets the name of the related artist, the genre, and an image for that artist, and then you could click on that artist to submit it back into this. Get the top tracks, which is just the song name, preview, and then to the bands in town and tour dates and promotions. So I'll try, let me see. What? 30 seconds? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just, do you want to just finish?
Some things we would like to implement in the future. We also had use across origin. script. We would like to make our own. I know we're about to get Node. I've seen a few for cross-origin scripts for Node.js. Me and Eugene have a VPS, make our own in the future, so we're not relying on another script, because cross-origin went down on us one day, and our APIs didn't work. So that could be an option. What would you add? Something you'd add?
Something I would like to add is adding more themes to the website. So right now we only have 2 themes, the rock and roll and the EDM theme. Maybe we could add like a jazz theme or like hip hop theme. So
so we could add regional chats, so it could be college-based or just state-based or city-based. And also we want to implement like search analytics, so we can like monetize, the people who use the site. That's always the end goal. And that's our application.
My feedback is that it's great. I like a lot of the details that you added. OAuth is hard, and I'm really impressed that you got it done in the amount of time that you had to do it. And then otherwise, I would say, James, you smiled the entire week, and I was really happy to see that. You seemed to really enjoy yourself for the first time in 8 or 9 weeks. So
I think
great job.
We were in Google Hangouts for 6 or 7 hours last night. I think we all had a really fun time doing this. So.
Did you guys work through your merge conflicts using Git?
I did it manually, through console, and then just do it manually, editing files.
I mean, that's cool, but I would just say that merge conflicts are unfortunately a part of version control that we cannot avoid at some point. So I would definitely encourage you guys to use Git next time to go through them and all the work that is work. But good job so far.